All right, welcome to my very first video. Super excited to show you why and how we're going to utilize the dominant bebop scale. First off, we need to understand the scale. This is a dominant scale and it's a mixolydian scale, the same thing, right? But what we do is we add an extra note into the dominant scale or the mixolydian scale. A mixolydian scale has the flatted seventh. Same thing with the dominant scale, it's the same thing. And what we're doing is we're adding, I call it the natural seventh or the raised seventh. So for an example, in F mixolydian, I'll just tell you the notes: F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E flat, and F. That's our mixolydian scale in F. But if we add the natural seventh or raised seventh, however you want to say it, that would be now F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E flat, E natural, and F. That is our dominant bebop scale. Now, why do we add that extra note, which I'm going to call it a passing tone? The reason we do this is so that when we go down the scale, we are going to now emphasize the chord tones on the downbeat. What are the chord tones? Well, the most important chord tones are 1, 3, 5, and 7 of this chord, F7. And that is F, A, C, and E flat. If we go down the scale with the additional passing tone now, the raised seventh, that will cause you to play the downbeats of the chord tones. Let me show you first. So I'm going to start with concert F7, and I'm going to go descending. From now on, we will always descend on this scale. I'll never go up the scale for the exercise I'm going to show you today. Now, those are eighth notes. If you hear my tapping, you're going to hear every time I tap, those chord tones will be on the downbeat. So take a listen. All right, so we understand that, and that's really important because moving forward, that'll help you make sure that you're on track with the scale. You'll know because it'll feel off if you're not. Okay, so we're gonna now go to the next step. That's important to know that you can play this dominant bebop scale on all the different degrees of the scale. But you're gonna notice that we have to add a couple things on certain ones. On the eighth, or the one if you want to call it, and then on the flatted seventh, the fifth, and the third, you don't have to do anything. You literally can play the scale the same way, which is great. All right, push that aside for a second. We still have 3 scale degrees to go. The sixth and the second scale degree, we have to do something different to get back on track to make sure our chord tones are on the downbeat. To do that, we have to add a passing tone. Let me repeat that. The sixth and the second, we have to add a passing tone to make the scale work. We got one more scale degree, which is the fourth. So we change this rhythmically to make ourselves get back on track. What I do for students is make sure that you play on the fourth a eighth note triplet. So you would play concert B flat, a whole step above, then C back to B flat as an eighth note triplet. Once you do that, you're back on track. So I'm going to demonstrate each scale degree right now, and then you get to practice. So here's starting on the 8, I'll call it, and we're only going to go descending on the scale. All right, that last one is not on the paper. I just played the octave lower, that's all. All right, we're going to go on to the next step. On paper, you're going to notice the second page is our arpeggios built off of the dominant bebop scale. And what you're going to notice is that we can only start either on the 3rd or on the 5th or on the flatted 7th to build these arpeggios. Arpeggios are 4 notes and they're stacked in thirds. Okay, that's building it off of the 3rd. That's our 3rd arpeggio off of the dominant bebop scale. Okay, now we're going to build it off of the 5th now. Okay, then the last one is on the flatted 7th. Okay, now I wrote in other octaves. It's very important that every instrument is different and you should learn your arpeggios in as many octaves that you can play so that you don't have just one window to play. You can stretch and play all octaves, as many as you can. Okay, the next step. Now you're going to notice on page 3, we are going to descend on our scale, dominant bebop scale, starting on the 8 again, on the 7, on the 6, 5, 3, 2. But you're going to notice at the end of the scale, I'm going to incorporate one of the arpeggios, whether it's going to be on the 3rd or the 5th or the 7th. All right, moving on to the next step. Okay, the next page you're going to take a look at is inverted arpeggios off of the dominant bebop scale. And all I'm doing with this is taking the very first note and I'm playing it up an octave. That's it. I'm not changing any of the notes or the order of notes. It's just the first note is up an octave. Here is the 5th and the flatted 7th. And obviously, you can do the same thing with the other arpeggios. Take them up an octave, as many as you can. Okay, we're going to move on to the next thing. Okay, we're back to playing the scale on every scale degree, but at the end of the scale, I'm going to incorporate the inverted arpeggio. Now we're on to incorporating our dominant bebop scale descending to any of the arpeggios. The next one in line is I'm doing the same thing. I am playing the dominant bebop scale descending, but I am adding the arpeggios and my first inversions. Now we have so much material that you're able to combine, one or the other arpeggio, inverted arpeggio, or the scale to form over chord changes. What I did here was write out a few that fit over a 2-5-1 in concert B flat major. So I'm going to play each one, and then we'll have a play along that you can hear how that sounds on top of it. What I find so amazing is just by playing the scale, the arpeggios, you're able to form such beautiful melodic lines and fitting over the most standard 2-5-1s. All right, I hope you enjoy, and make sure you practice this. And obviously, here's the deal, is this is one key. So the next step is to practice this in all 12 keys. My second video will be showing you how to embellish some of the notes and add a few more tricks to it. All right, hope you enjoy. Thank you.